Hey guys, it's Frank here. I know it's been a while since we've done a video. It's wintertime here in Maine, in coastal Maine, but it's a beautiful day here, a beautiful Saturday. And I wanted to take a little jaunt here on the Belfast Rail Trail. And I'm just showing you a map here. And I'm actually... my wife just dropped me off, so I'm at the railway station. So right up here, sort of the northern terminus of the trail. And it's roughly, according to this map, it's 2.2 miles long. And it begins at the Armistice Bridge, and we're going to check that out later. The city built this back, I want to say it was back in 2015, maybe 2016 when it was completed. But it's a very beautiful trail, and you know, kudos to the individuals who helped build this, and the Coastal Mountains Land Trust. They were a big part of it. So many individuals as well. So it's a beautiful rail trail, and again, runs right along the Passagasawakeg River. Passagasawakeg means, there's different interpretations, but the interpretation that I go by is where the sturgeon gather, or where the sturgeon flow, and the sturgeon is a indigenous fish here to Maine. I'm not sure if people have seen them, but so yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this. So yeah, we're gonna dig in. So there's some old rail cars here. Hello. And they've also got some interesting little pedal rail cars. A lot of people use this trail, and rightfully so. It's a great place to get some exercise, cross-country skiing. And I actually want to try one of these, but so yeah, you just sit down and just pedal like a bicycle. So it's pretty cool. I've yet to try it, but hopefully sometime. All right, so we're going to head on the trail. We're looking at 2.2 miles to the Little Bridge. I call it the Little Bridge. Again, beautiful but cold. We've had a really chilly week here. So we've had some negative numbers, so just give you sort of a breakdown here. 2.2 miles to the Little Bridge. So yeah, we're going to see some different signs. We're going to see some monuments and some other cool stuff. Like this guy here. And a plaque that was, I'll just read it quickly. Coastal Mountains Land Trust and the City of Belfast work together to achieve the vision of a rail trail connecting Belfast with nature along the Passagasawakeg River. So yeah, pretty cool. I used to walk this trail a lot back in 2017. I've been slacking a little bit in terms of being on the trail. So here's a little side pond. And just to give you a little background, I mean, this railroad, if you will, before it was a rail trail, it was a rail line that extended all the way up to Greenville, Maine, and essentially wealthy New Yorkers and Bostonians, people up and down the East Coast, they would take steamships into Belfast and then take the railroad up to Greenville, Maine, up to their summer places up there. So that's sort of a little bit about the background. Also, it was used by industry in Belfast. Belfast used to be an industrial town. At one point, there were 2 poultry factories, a fish factory, and some other industries. And those industries used the rail line to transport raw materials. Those industries left town at the beginning of the new millennium, and so that it was, this railway was dormant for a while, and groups and individuals came up with the idea for the Railtrail. And I've talked with people, up and down the coast. They love it. A lot of communities actually in Maine and all over the world, frankly, are going into these types of rail trails, these trails. If you've seen videos from this past summer, my family and I were in the Philippines, and Iloilo City has a beautiful esplanade that runs along the Iloilo River. So here's some views here of some of the smaller inlets and tributaries of the Passagasawakeg, sorry. And actually it was my son who learned the correct pronunciation when he was in middle school. And guys, I love geology, so there's a huge outcropping over there. Hopefully you can see it, but yeah, I love that. It's just a very, very unique feature. It looks like a glacial erratic, but pretty cool. You see this stuff all over Maine. So yeah, we're gonna see some of that. So, as I see geological stuff, I'm gonna talk a little bit about it. I'm actually in sneakers right now, just because they're so comfy as for walking. But yeah, it's winter time in Maine, and I actually have a small seasonal business. So I actually, I'm off in the wintertime. My season ends in early December, and then I'm pretty much off until early April. So 4 months off for me. I love that. I mean, I work pretty hard between April and December, and I mean, the busy months for me are April, May, June, July, August as well. And then in the fall, I stay busy all year round, but there's a little less urgency in the fall months. Not as crazy as in the spring and early summer. So yeah, just because it's been so cold, you can see a lot of ice has formed, and virtually no movement on the surface. So yeah, I have those 4 months off, and it's nice, it gives me time to rest and rehabilitate and work on some other projects that I have on the side. Yeah, I feel fortunate to have my little small business, and I launched my business back in 2020, right when the pandemic was, starting up, and my first year was, I had a lot of new customers, and But every year since then, it's gotten better and better. And I mean, I figured it would take 4 or 5 years to kind of get where I am now. So everything worked out well in terms of what I thought would happen. So yeah, feel pretty fortunate to be self-employed, and you know, I did have some corporate experience working in finance for almost 10 years, and I mean, but it was still fun to have that corporate experience. And you know, some of the things I learned I've carried over to my own business. But yeah, self-employment is the way to go. I'm call my own shots, build my own schedule, can take vacations whenever I want, more or less. I mean, so last summer we traveled to the Philippines, and that was in mid-July to early August, and you can see our videos on that. But it was nice having that flexibility. We were gone for probably 3 weeks. So yeah, I think it would have been much more difficult if I had been working in the corporate world to have that much time off in one setting. Not to say that people don't, but so here's a view of, you can hear some of the ice crackling underneath. So yeah, anyway, even though it wasn't difficult for me launching my business, you know, my service is in demand, and everything worked out great. I know a lot of businesses shut down, and we lost a lot of small businesses everywhere, all over the country. Businesses that had been in existence for decades. But I was on the other side of it. So, you know, there were some silver lining stories with the pandemic. So here's a bridge, guys. We're now crossing over the Passagasawakeg. I'll just show you a view of this bridge here. And you can hear the ice crackling underneath. It's been super cold. And so on this bridge here, in a couple months, you'll see a lot of people fishing for elvers. Elvers are glass eels that come in from down in the Caribbean. And they migrate all the way up here, and they come up to our rivers and streams, and they really, you know, they've been doing it for thousands of years, tens of thousands, if not hundreds. Well, I mean, obviously the last glaciation period, they probably weren't as much because most of the continent was under ice. But yeah, but they've been doing it a long time. So it's a pretty lucrative fishery. I myself have fished. I have an elver license. I'm not going to fish this year. I've just decided to take it off this year. It's very difficult, and so yeah, I just felt like I needed to take the year off. So yeah, the cool thing is, you know, you get to set your nets on these beautiful rivers, and I mean, it's highly competitive, right? Like people don't always want to share information on where the best fishing spots are. You know, that's how it goes. But kudos to those individuals who do know where these places are. You know, I guess that's how it is. So, God, I just heard something. It sounded like something jumped in the water, but it's so icy. There are lots of rocks, so maybe just below. I don't know. I hope it's not a deer or an animal in trouble, but I don't see anything. So yeah, we were hanging out at our house yesterday and saw a beautiful barred owl out back of our place. And, it was hunting. It was looking for mice. Mice tend to migrate under the snow. They have a tunnel network, and that owl was probably out there for a good hour and a half. It looked like he or she wasn't having the most success. But it was still cool to see. So yeah, we're coming up, and I'll give you guys another view up here. Looking back, just a beautiful day here, which is really why I wanted to come out here today. So here's another view of the river. And so this part of the river, you can see the roads right here. This is Oak Hill Road, that's parallel with the trail. The trail's pretty worn. I mean, this trail gets a lot of activity. Cross-country skiing, a lot of foot traffic. I even see some bicycle wheels, bicycle tread. So yeah, a lot of activity here. All right, so here we see some trees that were planted by local arborists. This planting project made possible Project Canopy, City of Belfast, Belfast Public Works, Belfast Garden Club, Green Streets in memory of Lloyd Wentworth and many volunteers. And Mr. Wentworth was a long-standing businessman here in Belfast who did a lot of amazing things for the community. So it's nice to see some tributes to him on this trail. I'm sure he was a contributor to its genesis and completion here. So yeah, a lot of cool things going on. You can see that they planted some deciduous trees along the edge here because it is, it's open, and over time these will get really big and provide a lot of nice shade. It does get hot in this section in the summertime, so great foresight by that group and those individuals to get some trees planted here, different species. It also promotes ecology for the birds. We're losing a lot of species every year, sadly, so I'm sure they appreciate it. Okay, so here's a little picnic area here. People can take a picnic there and have some views. And this one is called Slocum's View, in honor of Joseph Slocum, one of the city managers between June 2007 and March 2020. So kind of a nice tribute to him for his service to the city. Beautiful view. Hello. Just give you an idea of how cold it's been here. Lots of ice, snow. And the other cool thing is they've got little markers, so we've gone 0.7 miles already. And I've always kind of enjoyed this part of the trail. It's almost like a mini gorge, if you will. Very mini, but the walls are built up a little bit. The road's probably 20 feet above us here on the right. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I want to talk a little bit about what's happened recently in Belfast. Huge salmon farm, Nordic Aqua Farms, wanted to build a giant land-based salmon farm here in Belfast, and they recently announced that they were withdrawing their project. It was a very decisive issue here. A lot of people were either in support or against the project. It seemed like most people I talked to was kind of split down the middle, although my customers and myself were against it. A lot of my customers were against it. And so, yeah, I mean, I was against it because they wanted to build it in a location on Little River where the city of Belfast had its city water facility, a very beautiful place. And then above that was like an old growth pine stand that, you know, probably some of the largest pine trees around, and maybe, hi, how are you? Some of the largest pine trees around, and, you know, obviously a carbon sink, and, you know, sustaining birds and animals. And so in addition to being a carbon sink, you know, it's you know, an ecological special area, if you will. I mean, so the thought of losing that was frightening. And again, these are just my own reasons. I was also against it because I know just the excess carbon, right? This facility was going to be shipping its farm salmon all over the place, all over the East Coast. And so I know the carbon footprint from this particular proposal, this salmon farm, was going to be significant. Obviously, in light of climate change and you know, increased CO2 levels, you know, we've got to be cutting back. We've got to really start eliminating any excess carbon. So the bottom line is, you know, I didn't support it for those reasons. For the carbon, the excess carbon, and loss of ecological habitat, and the loss of the carbon sink. So I was actually quite relieved when the announcement came through that they were going to withdraw. And this fight between Nordic and local environmental groups, I mean, it's been, you know, it's been 7 years probably since they announced it. So yeah, kudos to local environmental groups and local environmentalists who really put up a good fight. And you know, there were some good arguments on both sides, right? Even the people who were in support of the farms, they basically, you know, they were saying that the farm would reduce carbon in other areas, but you know, it's that old cliche, think global, act local. And you know, it's just nice that we were able to not allow Nordic to come into fruition. We get to keep our old growth pine stand and keep that whole section of town wild. And you know, Belfast will not be contributing to excess carbon. So anyway, just wanted to touch base on that even in a small community like this, you know, we were able to deter. And this company, Nordic, they were, if I remember correctly, they were based out of Norway. And for them, this was an experimental project. Like, this was going to be one of their first. I wanted to show you. Here's an example of a white pine that really dominate the riparian areas where Nordic wanted to build. So you'd see a lot of these guys up there. Beautiful trees. So yeah, There's a little granite bench for people to take a little rest. You can see they do a great job keeping the branches trimmed, and a lot of the trail maintenance here is done by volunteers. So kudos to them again. So here we see a lot of coniferous trees, which do provide pretty good shade. So I do like the contrast too here in the trail. Different vegetation types, and you can see the sun up there poking through. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people love this trail, not just in this community, but in other communities. And I think more and more communities are adopting this model, right? The turning old industrial pathways into modern environmental ecological pathways for people to enjoy, to recreate. So yeah, so that's kind of nice. So there's that. So here's another view of the Passagasawakeg, and so I'm going to show you a different view, but this is where the original bridge was back in the day. And I'll show you a different view, but so I want you guys to visualize cars crossing here. This is where the original bridge was. So cars would come around. Obviously we're probably a mile and a half out of downtown. So yeah, it was just obviously a different time, but so we're going to check out three historic bridges on the Passagasawakeg, this one being the first, and we'll get a closer glimpse of it. Okay guys, still here. I just wanted to give you a long view of the river. Just a beautiful spot here. Haven't seen a lot of wildlife today. I mean, it's not uncommon to see bald eagles flying around. They might be closer to the ocean. But yeah, super nice. And it's, like I said, it's been very cold, -7 in the morning, but even still, I wouldn't risk going out on this water just because of the tidal influence. And it is sort of brackish. It is brackish. Okay guys, so this is the upper bridge here, and they did put a nice little display here, so I want to show you what the pictures look like. I can't really see that well, but yeah, there we go. So there's a picture of a team of horses pulling a wagon or some sort of... Here's a picture of what the old steam trains look like on this rail trail. And so this, you can see some of the old pylons and on the other side there, and I'll kind of zoom in for you. So yeah, this was the original bridge here back in the day. This was the one that was used for a very long time before they built the little bridge. And people fish here in the summer, and I've seen a lot of birds here, and so yeah, it's another, just the view here. And that little outlet that I talked about earlier, that's called Beaver Tail. That's where I fished previously as well, so yeah. Okay guys, so we're actually getting closer, probably 0.45 miles away from the little bridge. And we are approaching the big bridge, what's known as the Big Bridge in Belfast. And I'm going to stop you and see if I can zoom in just to show you what it looks like from the trail. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about it as we get closer. So yeah, just bear with me here. Okay, so I wanted to just show you guys another view here of the Passagassawakeg, and I'm right along the river now, just under some trees, and it's just very beautiful. Lots of blue sky today. Beautiful, crisp January day. So yeah, it's you can see the ice here all along the edges. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously dangerous to be walking around. If probably I would only recommend if you had crampons, something to really dig into the ice. Yeah, but it's so beautiful here. Very peaceful, very quiet. Yeah, it's really nice to be here. So I'll give you guys another shot. Okay, so we are very close to the big bridge. Give you some views here so now that you can see it. And this bridge was built back in 1964. That's when it was completed and dedicated. So this is the current bridge that's used. Has been in use for the last 50 years, going on 51 this coming year. Still looks like in pretty good shape. I mean, engineers did a great job building it. You know, beautiful views of Belfast Inner Harbor when you're traversing it back and forth. Very nice. So, you know, we saw the upper bridge, the first bridge. This is, in the history of the bridges, this is the third bridge, if you will. And I'll show you the second one as well. But yeah, this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the Veterans Memorial Bridge. But yeah, just zoom out a little bit here. So it's kind of fun, you know, you're walking the rail trail, you know, you get into these, you know, nice meditative spaces, right? And then this bridge is a reminder of, okay, you're back in civilization. So it's kind of fun. I've had those walks before here where really enjoying my time, and I'd start hearing traffic and you know, basically know it's coming to an end. So here's a nice shot of the pillars all the way across. I believe it's 64 feet high. So built in 64 with a vertical height of 64 feet. Probably coincidence. So here, guys, is an empty lot. There used to be a potato factory called McCrum's here that sadly burned in 2022. So yeah, it's been empty for a few years. Really one of the last vestiges of industrial Belfast, and before that it was a poultry facility, Maplewood. I think that was the name of the company when it was originally built, and then subsequently Penobscot Frozen Foods maybe, but they had another facility. So I think it went Maplewood and then Penobscot Potato. I forget the names exactly, but as you can see, it's an empty lot now. You know, I believe it's for sale. So yeah, it's interesting. You know, I grew up here in this town, and You know, when I was growing up, the old cliche, right? When I was little. No, but when I was growing up, Belfast was industrial, right? We had 2 chicken factories, a sardine factory, a shoe factory. You know, we had these industries, these blue collar industries. By the early 90s, early to mid 90s, a lot of those factories were shutting down. The chicken factories were shutting down. I believe the fish factory closed in 2001 or 2002. Maybe as late as 2003, and that's now replaced by a shipyard. So Belfast has come full circle. Back in the 1800s, we were a shipbuilding community, and now we have a shipyard. So it's kind of cool that we've come full circle. So just want to show you this. So this is the little bridge here, guys. This is the second bridge in the lineage of bridges that have spanned the Passagassawakeg. This is the second bridge, and it's, you know, now it's a pedestrian bridge. When I was growing up, a lot of kids, teenagers and adults would fish for mackerel. Literally, there'd be, you know, up to 100 people fishing, pulling mackerel in out of the water. And you don't really see that. I mean, some people do fish here, but not like it was back in the early to mid 80s, if you will. So yeah, and you see a green building, and that's the north side of the Front Street Shipyard. So yeah, that's kind of getting to the end of this particular video. But I'm going to show you a view of the bridge here as I get closer to the kiosk. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video today of the Belfast City Rail Trail and some of the current events that have been going on. And hello, hey, how are you?
Hi.
So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's been fun for me as well, just to get out. Been spending more time inside just because it's so cold, and again, it's my off season, so. But you can see there are people walking on the bridge, people braving the elements here. So one last view of the sign here, and we are at the Armistice Bridge entrance, and I call it the Little Bridge. That's what most people call it here. So okay guys, gonna wrap it up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Have a great one.